Thank you for joining me on Legislative Update. I'm your State Representative, Norm Johnson. For the past week and a half, we've been working from early morning to late at night, and even into the early hours of the next morning to consider hundreds of bills here on the House floor. We've now reached another important deadline in the legislature. By 5 p.m. on March 12th, all House bills must have passed the House, or they are considered dead for the session. Bills that are necessary to implement the state budget are exempt from this deadline. So that's why we have been working at a feverish pace to meet the floor cutoff schedule. You know, for years, Washington has put the interests of victims ahead of criminals. That's the way it should be. I am proud that Washington has a great record of firsts in protecting the public. We were the first in the nation to adopt a sex offender registration law and to provide indefinite civil commitment for the state's most dangerous predators. We were the first to adopt a three-strikes law that puts violent criminals away for life without parole after committing their third serious felony. And our state cracked down with hard time for armed crime with stiffer penalties for people who commit crimes using a gun or knife. This year in the legislature, as the budget deficit of $8 billion has dominated the discussion, we still need to keep public safety in the forefront. I'm very concerned the pendulum is now swinging the other way against victims and more towards consideration for criminals. To save money, many prisoners, including convicted felons, are serving only 50% of their sentence. They're out on the streets, and now there's a proposal to eliminate more than 300 community corrections officers who supervise them once they have been released. That puts our communities, families, and children at risk. Another proposal is also very disturbing. Current law allows voting rights of released felons to be restored only if they have completed court requirements and fully paid their restitution. House Bill 1517 would remove the requirement that felons pay their court-ordered restitution before their voting rights are restored. I strongly disagree with this approach because it places the interest of criminals higher than those of the victims. Why would we want to reward a convicted felon who has victimized people and has not met all of the court's obligations, including restitution? What kind of message does that send to the victims who have endured the heinous crimes committed against them? If this is a way of reforming criminals, we're heading in the wrong direction. Proponents said we should support this measure because surrounding states have relaxed voting restrictions against felons. Frankly, I don't care how Idaho, Oregon, or any other state carries out their prison sentences and restitution requirements. I'm only concerned about Washington. I was elected by the people of the 14th District to represent them. We have a high crime rate in Yakima County. I believe my vote against this bill was representative of more than 90% of the people in the 14th District. Citizens in our district want criminals to fully pay their price to society and be held accountable for their actions. It's too late to block this bill in the House, but it's my hope the Senate will stand up for victims and stop this bill. We need to get back on track in protecting citizens and ensuring public safety. The Hug-a-Thug programs and coddling criminals legislation needs to be put down. We need to hold criminals accountable for their actions. We must put victims and families first before felons. I welcome your thoughts. Thank you again for joining me on Legislative Update. I'm your State Representative, Norm Johnson.